So in today's modelled writing lesson, we'll look at a common question type, and it's actually mixed question type, multiple charts. So we've had a look at a few examples of these previously, and it's basically where you might see a few different pieces of visual information mixed. Bar charts, line graphs, even tables, any of these things can be mixed together. Don't get worried if you have that. In fact, I actually quite like these question types because it often means you get good chances to compare, or at times it can make the grouping a little bit easier, especially if you have two types of charts. Okay, so let's take a look at our question. The bar chart below shows the numbers of men and women attending evening courses in different topics. The pie chart gives information about the ages of these course participants. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so even before I've seen the visual information, I know that first sentence we've got a bar chart. Men and women in evening courses, different topics. We also will have a pie chart. I assume one, because we're not plural, charts. A pie chart, which is information about the ages of these course participants, the people who are enrolling in these night courses. So we're going to learn a few pieces of information. Right, let's take a look at this. So let's begin on the left. So on the left, we have our bar chart. At the top, men in blue, women in green. Let's look at the y-axis. We have number of people from 0 to 40. And along the x-axis, we have 4 different courses. We have drama, painting, sculpture, and language. The first thing I can see is language has what seems to be a pretty high number of enrollments. Sculpture, not so much. Painting seems quite popular. Drama, so-so. Okay, so that's pretty much the bar chart. Let's take a look at the pie chart. So we have, first thing I see is in red, 42% of 50 and over. This could maybe be things I describe in my overview. And then we have ages from 20 to 50. So 2 pieces of visual information here in a bar chart and a pie chart. I'm beginning to think about grouping. I'm beginning to analyze the data a bit so that I sort of understanding what I'm seeing. What's the big picture? What sort of things can I specifically describe? So let's go on to our plan now. So, thinking around our plan, there are a few things that I could probably do in terms of grouping, but the first thing that really comes to mind, and often the first, most obvious, most simple is the best grouping, is quite simply to have group 1 as bar chart and group 2 as pie chart. The semicolons aren't that important. I just like including them. So we have here our bar chart, which I will describe in detail paragraph 1. And I'll describe this, the pie chart, in detail paragraph 2. There's still a lot of information that I can compare and describe between them. So I think having them separate doesn't matter too much. And I think it's going to be easier for the examiner to understand and read. Okay, and overview. So I often say 2 things to say for the overview. Occasionally, just one sort of big picture sentence is okay, but it makes sense really to sort of give 2 sentences for this. My first sentence, I'll say something about the bar chart. And my second sentence, I'll say something about the pie chart. Now let's take a quick look. Is there anything I can say regarding more women than men? Let's see. So women have 3 out of the 4 courses, there are more women enrolled. I could say generally more women enroll than men. That would be okay to say for this. Is there anything else I can say? So here we have painting, 25, 30, that's 55. Here we have 20 and 40, 60 people. So I could say language is the most popular. And I've just obviously added these figures together and worked this out. That would also be pretty good to say. But I'm going to say women more than men. In terms of how many are enrolling, or the most popular. So it's more popular. There's more women in most classes than there are men. And for the pie chart, I will simply say age 50 plus popular. So we can see here, if you're 50 or over, that accounts for 42%. Now, one thing that I will say again about these plans, this is very slowed down because I'm explaining. I want you to see me analyze and share my ideas so you can understand my thinking. So this is slower than normal. But when you write your plans, do write in note form. There's no need in your plan to write full grammatically accurate sentences with exciting vocabulary. This is not marked. Your plan is not marked. It's purely for you to plan your writing. And it's just a simple structure to help understand this and think about what content to include and also where to do it. So don't worry about writing long overviews. I often see students writing 2 or 3 really nicely written grammatical sentences. It's a bit of a waste of time. Save that for the report. Okay, so that is my plan, and I think pretty much I'm ready to start writing now. Okay, so here we are. We've got a question up here if I want to reread. I've also included this vocabulary sheet we looked at just a few lessons before, taken from IELTS Writing 7+. Just a nice visualization to remind myself of describing trends, increases, decreases, figures that stay the same. So maybe good for comparing certain parts of language here. And of course, I have my visualization down here. So I think we can just jump into writing now. So what we need to do is to paraphrase these 2 sentences here. Now, I'm still going to write my paraphrased introduction in 1 sentences. And I'm going to do this by just simply going the charts display. Now, I've added the plural charts because here I'm basically saying the bar chart and the pie chart. The charts display the types of evening, or we could say night classes that a range of ages, let me repeat that, a range of ages enroll into. Let's read this back. The charts display the types of night classes that a range of ages are enrolled into. Let's say that. That sounds a little bit better to me. Again, editing as we write, really important. Let's read this back. The charts display the types of night classes that a range of ages are enrolled into. So I've said here the types of class and also the range of ages. So just really simple, 1 sentence paraphrase from these 2 longer structures. Okay, time for the overview. So you remember the first thing I said is that generally speaking, there are more women than males in most classes. Generally, there are more ladies, very British sounding, than men in most class types. So I'm just saying that I could maybe write 3 out of 4, but I try and keep numbers out of the overview when possible. Generally, there are more ladies than men in most class types. And then we want to say also for the most popular, let's say, the most enrolled, or shall we say the most frequent age student is over 50 years old. Let's just read this back. Generally, there are more ladies than men in most classes. I'll change this. Short and sweet. Ooh, apologies. Also, the most frequent student, I think I need to rephrase this. Also, the most frequent aged student. Also, the students aged, I think we need to rewrite, 50 years are over, make up the majority of students in all courses. That's much better. Editing when writing. Also, students aged 50 years are or over, make up the majority of students in all courses. Okay, so a nice overview there for both visual pieces of information. Okay, so group 1 is describing this bar chart. Now, how would I start? Well, I could go from most popular and then sort of work my way down, or simply I could just go from left to right along the x-axis to make sure. There were 30 students enrolled in drama classes, with men making up 10 versus 20 female students. And I think here we've said students a lot. I'm going to say learners. Painting was, and I just want to compare painting to drama. Painting was more popular than drama classes. And I'm not going to say specifically, I'm going to try and speed it up a little bit and just say with around 55 or with 55 total enrollments overall. Let's just read this back again. There were 30 students enrolled in drama classes, with men making up 10 versus 20 female learners. Painting was more popular than drama class, with 55 total enrollments overall. Now, some of you may say, why don't you describe exactly how many per men or female, or male or female? And that's because sometimes if we describe every single feature, it's going to be far too long. So we kind of need to sometimes speed things up, sometimes slow things down. Or let's say sculpture was not a popular class. Sculpture, and I'll just change my spelling here. Sculpture was not a popular class, with only how many? 15 students total. Whereas, so now I've got a nice use of a complex sentence, most probably. Whereas whereas languages was the most popular class, with 20 male and with 20, let's say we'll use respectively, with 20 and with 12, we'll just use with 20 male and 40 female students each attending these lessons. Okay, that's good. So I've gone through everything here. I've made comparisons between them. I've given specific facts. I didn't really use any of this vocabulary. It didn't seem appropriate so much, most likely because of time. So this language is generally really useful for time, trends against time. Okay, so let's describe the pie chart. 42% of all of the student body. That's a nice colloquial piece of language there, the student body, which means just the overall number of students, were aged 50 years or over. Next, the next most popular age group was between 40 and 49 years of age at 26%. So 26% of enrollments. Then we could maybe say, we could even probably, if we want to speed things up just a little bit more, plus these together. So we could say students aged under 39, or we could say students aged anywhere from 39 or younger make up 16 plus 11 plus 15. So this is 16, 32%. So then we can say students, this is very much speeding up our writing. Students aged, in fact, what I'm going to say is I'm going to plus these two groups together because this is 16, this is 16, so I can say they're equal. So what I'll say is students aged 30 to 39 stood at 16%, equal to the remaining two age groups, and I'm going to use brackets as well, 20 to 29 and aged 20 or under. Okay, that kind of should mean that I have completed this writing here. I could maybe just say that age 20 and under stands at 5%, the lowest amount, but I think I'm quite happy with this. Let's read back this second paragraph here. 42% of the student body were aged 50 years or over. The next most popular age group was between 40 to 49 years of age, at 26% of enrolments. Students aged 30 to 39 stood at 16%, and a nice comparison between some of the data, equal to the remaining two age groups, 20 to 29 and age 20 or under. Okay, I like that. I think that's pretty strong. Let me check my word count. It does look maybe just a little short, but I think I've still made the 150 here. Okay, so I've just counted up, and very interesting, worth discussing. The word count for this is 148 words. So you'll remember that really the word limit stands at about 150 or higher. Now I'm kind of 2 words under that. Would I get a penalty against my score? I very, very much doubt it. I've included a lot of information here, maybe just slightly sped this up too much, so I maybe could have gone through a bit more individually or just added an extra sentence with a bit more information. But it's really only if you're looking at, very short, under 140, maybe another sentence taken away from here, that we start giving penalties as examiners. So that's fine. Not too much to worry about, only a couple of words under. And that's mostly because I've added a lot of detail in here whilst making comparisons. So my task achievement score is, of course, very high. So an interesting example of this mixed chart, multiple chart lessons. I really do like these kind of reports because they're quite easy to group, and there's obviously a lot of things to describe as well. Okay, so let's jump into your next lesson.